On average, when women leave their jobs to stay home with their kids, their pay decreases by 30%. And so I started my account to keep my skills up in hopes that whenever I went back into the workforce, I wasn't going to see that 30% decrease.
Welcome to the Millionaire Mentorship Podcast. Today we've got a super cool guest that I've been following for a long time on social media. And I brought her in here selfishly because I wanted to learn all of her hidden gems of the Midwest. This is Amy Eastin. Did I say that right?
Eastin.
Okay, Amy Eastin, a world traveler turned Midwest adventure mom. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, awesome. I've got a lineup of questions, but before I get into all of that, we were just talking, and you've got quite the story about how you got here.
Yeah, I do. I actually started out, I spent 4 years traveling abroad, and I was in the Peace Corps in Bulgaria, and I lived in South Korea and taught English there. I backpacked through Southeast Asia. I've been to 45 countries, and then I got a fellowship at UMKC in Kansas City. Okay. And so that's what brought me here, and I met my husband, and we put down our roots here. And at first I thought, Kansas City is great because it has really nice people. But I didn't really realize all that there was. Yes, it does. And that's a big plus.
And it's contagious.
Yeah, people here are wonderful. They're so genuine. I love the culture.
Yes.
But I didn't realize how much there was to do outside of that. I knew that KC had some cool things going on in the city, but as far as the Midwest goes, I sort of figured I'd still have to travel internationally to find anything fun.
Yeah, can you name some of the best countries? I mean, 45 countries is a lot. I don't even think I might hit 20, but 45 is a lot. What's your favorite one?
Well, so I have a special place in my heart for underrated places that have really beautiful, they have lots of natural beauty.
Yeah.
And so for me, I love the Republic of Georgia and Laos. Those are my top two favorite.
Laos, you need a visa, right?
I don't remember. It's been 15 years-ish since I was there, maybe a little bit less. But I think it was pretty easy to get the visa. I think we got it at the border.
Yeah. We were going to go there. It's one of those places that it's Asia's hidden gem. Everything's really cheap there still. They don't have a lot of infrastructure is the best.
No, yeah. We had to ride the Mekong to get around, take the river. We took this little river boat, and then they would stop at these little villages, and they would trade. They'd barter for boat rides. So
really?
What do you have? I have a bag of rice. One person gave them an exotic bird to take them down the river to the city. So
was that cool?
It was very cool. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. Does that traveling abroad and stuff, is that that? That's in your DNA right now, Amy. It's and you can't get that out. I did the same thing. I took a train. I haven't told many people this, but when my first travel bug was taking a train from Washington State to Mississippi. And then I got the travel bug, and then you go all across the country. So you have the travel bug.
I definitely have the travel bug. But I also really like the consistency of having a home. So I want both, and that's why Kansas City's been great. There's been so many things around here for me to discover, and I don't have to go that far. But also, we're gonna do both. We're gonna explore the world, but still love and appreciate the Midwest.
All right, so let's get to it then. So where is your favorite place within, I guess, your top 3 picks inside of the Kansas City region, within 3 hours from here?
Oh man, that's so hard.
You can go 5.
Okay, so one that comes to mind is Hitchcock Nature Center. It's in Council Bluffs, Iowa, near Omaha.
Okay.
It's just over the border.
So 35 north.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and it's actually the lowest hills there's this rare formation that only occurs in this one spot in China and northwestern Missouri and western Iowa. It's where the silt blows across fields and creates these stooped mountains.
Oh wow.
Hills kind of, but they're really pretty. And so last May, my daughters and I went on our first ever backpacking trip for all of us.
Okay.
It was mine too.
How old are your daughters?
They were 5 at the time. Now they're 6.
Okay.
So it was a big adventure, but it was so beautiful. And there's this campsite called High Point.
Okay.
And it's like 360 views. You can actually see Omaha way off in the distance.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like this really beautiful experience. We only hiked, I think, like 2 miles in, but it was like straight up.
Yeah.
And we had to carry in all of our own water. So it definitely felt like a big adventure, especially it being my first time backpacking too. Yeah. But it was right here in the Midwest, and this unique phenomenon, like geological phenomenon.
Yeah, totally.
So,
that's awesome. So how long does it take to get there?
I think it's about 2.5, 3 hours.
From Kansas City.
From Kansas City, yeah. And if you want to see the lowest hills closer, Lowest Bluffs National Wildlife Refuge is only like an hour and a half from Kansas City. And they've got, in fall and spring, like millions of birds migrate through there. And there's a 10-mile auto loop you can do. And then across the street, there is a place like a visitor center, and they have trails there. The Lowest Bluffs Trail is a mile. You can just hike those same hills.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's a little bit closer too.
So that's one of your favorite places.
Yes.
Where would be another place to go?
Okay.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're fine. So a little bit closer, I really like Cedar Lake Falls. It's in Olathe.
Okay.
So it's kind of been known as like a party spot in the past where like teens will go.
Like a kegerator place?
Yeah. So it's like these beautiful waterfalls that you they're hard to find.
What's it called? Cedar
Bluff Falls. Or Cedar Lake Falls.
Okay.
There's also Cedar Creek Falls, so
Okay.
I have to think about it to make sure I'm saying the right one. But this is Cedar Lake Falls.
Okay.
And it's this beautiful waterfall that you can actually hike to the top of it and the bottom. It's kind of overgrown. If you don't know how to get there, it's a little hard to find.
Okay.
But Olathe is actually going to build a trail through there. So I'm excited to see that kind of be more accessible for everybody. But whenever I first found it, I was like, why isn't everybody talking about this?
Right.
You know, like they're beautiful. They're 40 minutes from Kansas City.
And it's a waterfall?
Yeah, it's a waterfall.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had like a ski resort in Weston. Do you know about that?
Oh, yes, Snow Creek.
Have you been there?
I haven't been there, but it sounds cool.
It does sound cool. So yeah, there's a lot of hidden gems out here. So you like that one? I'm gonna have to check that one out for sure. That sounds like fun. Can you like ride your mountain bike, or is it more like hiking?
It's more hiking, yeah. And the trail isn't that long. It's probably like to the top of the falls, I'd guess like 0.3 miles, and then to the bottom
easy.
like 4, yeah. But it's a good place to explore. My kids always like walking. The top is really shallow, so they just wear their mud boots and like walk around, and it's fun.
That's awesome. What do you think about Branson? You don't have to be nice. I'm very authentic on this part.
Yeah, so I don't know that Branson is for me personally.
It's not for me either.
Yeah, but I feel like we did go on a trip to Branson when my twins were 5 months old. They were little.
Yeah.
And we found a little waterfall hike, and we went to the butterfly pavilion or something like that, where you get to see all these butterflies, and I liked that.
Yeah.
I think the stereotypical things that are in Branson maybe are not what would appeal to me, but that's what I like about what I do, is that I can find the places that are more my jam, and I haven't really done a whole lot of searching in Branson. So while
I'm glad to hear you say that, because it was so hyped up for me. We just had to go, and then when we got there, and I was like, this is like Vegas in Missouri with like no casinos, and they got like the Titanic there and all this other thing. But it kind of, they went to that what's it called?
Silver Dollar City.
All the rides were closed.
Aw. What time of year did you go?
It was during like the holiday season, so we went for the light show.
Yeah.
But I want to go on rides. Like,
Yeah.
I'm 46. Let me go on rides. But it was like, $50 for parking, and then you got to buy a hot chocolate. I just felt like, come on, that's not affordable for families.
Yeah, I have not been to Silver Dollar City.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. Yeah, so I haven't really been to Branson. I think for me, I'm usually drawn to places with more like natural beauty.
Me too.
And so I think there's a lot of that in the Branson area. I just personally haven't been there and discovered it
Like,
yet.
have you been to Table Rock?
I've driven past it, but I haven't spent time there, and it looks amazing.
That's what I've
looks
heard.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that you can find places that you love just about anywhere. You just have to do a deep dive into what it is that you're looking for. You know what I mean? And I think that Branson probably has places that I would enjoy. I just don't know about them yet because I haven't really explored.
No, there's some cool places there for sure. Like you can venture around, like the Titanic's cool and everything like that, just to go there for a weekend. I wanted to get into something that you mentioned before because I think it tells a lot about a person. You were in the Peace Corps.
Yes.
Like, talk to me about that whole situation. Like, what got you? Because I think I looked into doing it at one point in time, a long time ago. But you basically volunteer, right?
Yes, yeah. You get like a payout at the end of like $7,000, but it's 2 years and 3 months. So that's not like, that's not huge money. Yeah, and
you could make that work for you.
Yeah. Well, and I lived in a small village. It was called Biala. It means white in Bulgarian.
Okay.
But it's definitely an experience unlike any other experience. I've traveled a lot of places, but to actually live in a small village, learn the language.
So you speak
Bulgarian, da, разбира се.
Wow. That you can never take from you.
Right. And
so 2 years to get to speak a different language?
Yeah, and I mean, I really had to learn it because there was one English couple that lived in my village, but everybody else only spoke Bulgarian, so I really had to learn Bulgarian.
And this is before Duolingo.
Yeah, yes.
So how did you learn it?
They spend 3 months training you. So you spend 3 months, you live with a host family. You go every day to learn the language for 4 hours a day. And then you spend a couple hours also working on training for your like assignment. So I taught English.
So you taught English?
Yes. And so I'd spend 4 hours in language class a day. And then afterwards spend 2 hours, I think, at the school helping out teaching and things like that. But it was an experience. My best friends were an 84 and 86-year-old couple. I called them Baba Maria and Diado Peter, which means like grandmother Maria and grandfather Peter.
Yes.
And they were just the best people. Like, I loved them. And
how young were you?
I was 23 or 20. I was 24.
So was this like fresh out of college?
I spent 1 year teaching English in South Korea, and then I backpacked through Southeast Asia, and then I decided I wasn't done with the international adventures, so I applied for the Peace Corps, and that's when it...
So it was like a way to travel for free, but also do something really... What's the Peace Corps' mission?
So their main mission is to... kind of create friendly ties, offer service, and then also for Americans to learn about other countries. So like I would come back to America and be able to tell people about Bulgaria.
Right, and speak the language. Is that part of it too?
Yes, yeah, that's a pretty important component because you just can't have the same authentic relationship if you don't speak the language.
Does everybody make it?
No, I would say like, so we had a group of 40 volunteers in our group. And I think about 5 people left early.
So that's a pretty actually strong pull through.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for sure. Like there were definitely times that I was like, why am I here? But overall, it was 100% worth it. And
yeah, there's no doubt. Like there's no, like 100% is 100%.
Yes, yeah, it was definitely worth it. And it's such a cool experience. And it's something, you're right, that nobody can ever take from me. Yeah. I now speak Bulgarian. I had that experience.
Well, that's
my
a business.
changed. Yeah.
Like you could be a Bulgarian translator. I mean, I know the Midwest is not like a Bulgarian hub.
I did get reached out to once about a job in Overland Park that they needed somebody who speaks Bulgarian. And I looked it up on LinkedIn, and I was the only one that on LinkedIn in the metro. So I was like, makes me a pretty hot candidate.
I would venture to guess that if you started just doing some stuff in Bulgarian on your social, like you'd be surprised what opportunities came your way, because that is a super cool skill set. I worked in Vegas, where I'm from, for the last 15 years prior to moving here. There's a lot of Bulgarian people out in Vegas.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. There's a huge amount in near Chicago. Yeah. There's a really big community. My Bulgarian is rusty now, though, because I've been back in the States. It's been 11 years. So I feel like I need to go back to Bulgaria for like 3 months, and it would all come back really fast. But I need to like get back into shape, kind of Bulgarian shape.
Yeah. So like when you do that, like, is that like when you learn a language, do you start like thinking in that language?
I did, yeah, and I had some dreams in that language. I don't know what it is. Bulgarian sounds so angry, And so when I drive and somebody makes me mad, I usually yell at them in Bulgarian. I'm just
Like, what would you say?
Just like, ne može, iskam toma. Like, like it's like very basic things. But my kids are in the backseat just like being like, Mom, just be a mom, whatever. So,
I mean, you're not doing anything wrong because they have no idea what the hell.
And I'm not cursing either. I didn't really, like, mostly I worked with children. So my, like, Bulgarian vocabulary is like
very
still.
very PC.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. So any big like learning lessons from that whole situation about, like, I imagine like for me, travel has opened my mind.
Yeah.
Like anytime I've been to Africa, I've been to all these cool Asia and stuff like that. And you realize like how sheltered we are in the US, how much we don't know about other people, other countries. Do you feel like that is something that everybody should do?
I do. I mean, I know people who have no desire to travel, and I kind of figure if you have no desire, like if I have so much desire to travel, there's got to be people on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And I want to respect that, but I also am like, but maybe you would like it if you went. You know, I think you'd like it. I definitely, for my kids, my twins have been to Canada twice. My husband's Canadian.
Oh, nice.
And then we're going to go to Costa Rica for the first time this summer. So I'm excited.
Where are you guys headed?
We're going to go to Monteverde, Manuel Antonio, and Arenal. So yeah, I'm excited. But I definitely still want to keep exploring the Midwest too. I really see the value of living in a place and loving that place and finding what there is there. But you can still love the world too, you know?
I think that's a great point because there is, like, when I came here, I didn't know anything about Kansas City. Like, I knew Pat Mahomes and I knew that, like, which one is Kansas and which one is Missouri, right? And the first thing that I wanted to do was find, so I'm going to ask you this question. I didn't even have it on my sheet, but where do I go hiking? Like, I was in Vegas, the only thing they had going for me for an outdoors guy is I had this thing called Craft Mountain, which I could go and get a 5-mile hike in, get a mile up, invert, and then walk around this whole mountain. So so the only place I've really seen is Arkansas if I want to go for hikes. Is there any place like within like a 45-minute hour drive that people can go hiking around here?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of spots.
Okay.
So Burr Oak Woods is in Blue Springs, and it's a Department of Conservation area. It's beautiful. The Tiffany Springs hike is my personal favorite because it's got these really cool stone formations that kind of like jut out.
Tiffany Springs is in that area?
Mm-hmm, it's the name of the hike.
Okay.
So Burr Oak Woods is the whole area. And there's multiple hikes there, but Tiffany Springs is my favorite hike at Burr Oak Woods.
And how do I get there?
It's off of I-70, I believe.
Towards St. Louis?
Towards St. Louis, yeah. But it's only it's in Blue Springs, so it's like 30 minutes away. It's not too far.
And how many hiking trails are there?
There's miles and miles, and there's tons of different routes you can take. There's some that are paved. There's a ton that are unpaved. There's some that go through like this tall grass. There's other ones that actually, if you turn off by the sign, the Burr Oak Woods entrance sign, there's these really cool tall pine trees. A ton of photographers take pictures there because they're just so unique. But the Tiffany Springs Trail is definitely my favorite because it's just
that's this weekend. My wife keeps asking me for stuff to do, and I'm like, let's go to Arkansas.
Arkansas is cool, but you don't have to go all the way to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Smithville Lake has
that's 10 minutes from my house.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's perfect. And so
I was just gonna ask. You must be reading my mind. I was literally just gonna ask you about. I've had, believe it or not, somebody running for mayor on Smithville, and then somebody who's an alderman in Smithville, and I live close to Smithville, and now I've been talking to the mayor of Smithville, and so I'm like, and I just for the first time. Like, even being 10 minutes from there and living in my house for the last 15 months, I just drove around that lake. And I'm like, this got to be man-made, but this is so cool.
It's beautiful. There's tons of hiking trails there. I think there's 16 miles of paved biking trails or walking, but there's a lot of unpaved ones too. There's a lot of different offshoots where you can kind of go down by the river. The lake.
That's my new place. I got no excuses for not being on my bike. I'm thinking about I need to ride to the city. That's my jam now.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. If you go in the wintertime, there's eagles nesting there, so that's kind of cool. And then Paradise Outfitters rents kayaks and canoes in the warmer months, and that's fun. There's a beach area, a campground. There's a lot to do at Smithville Lake. You could spend a whole day.
Yeah. And it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I ride my Razor from my house to Smithville, where that little coffee shop is there. I feel like if I would have not moved to where I live, which I live between Smithville and Platte City, I would have probably picked Smithville. It's a really cool little location. Where do you call home?
I live in the Northland near Liberty.
Oh, you're right by me.
Yeah, so I'm not too far. Yeah.
I'm off of, where the airport is?
Yes.
If you take the one to go left, you go to the airport. Take the one to go right, you go Cookingham Road, which there's like that gas station over there by the airport that nobody ever goes to.
Yeah.
I live in that way towards Platte City.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, 10 minutes from Smithville and everything like that.
Do you ever paddle or anything?
I just paddled in Seattle for we had a family vacation in Bremerton, which is like in the Puget Sound. I don't know if you've been to Seattle.
I have, yeah. It's been a while though, like 10 years.
Yeah, so the Puget Sound is like this kind of inlet from the Pacific Ocean, which is very calm. And so I paddled over there, but I'm an outdoors guy. I've been wanting to try to find someone who's got 2 Sea-Doos to ride from St. Joe to Kansas City on the Missouri River. Like, I think that'd be, I've never seen any boat on the Missouri River. I've never seen anybody on a watercraft on the Missouri River. Yeah. So I want to see what's going on there. Like, yeah. And I know there's big catfish on that Missouri River.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they do have you heard of the 340, I think is what it's called?
Oh, what is that?
It's like a race down the Missouri River that they do every year, and you paddle 340 miles.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I would love to paddle part of it, but I don't know that I want to do it in like 2 days.
So there is one thing that I am interested in. I don't know if I'll ever do it. I would definitely have to train for it. But it has caught my eye as like probably the scariest thing that I would do. I have skydived like 5 times, but I feel like this is almost more terrifying. And that is, they have an Escape from Alcatraz swim.
Oh, wow.
And I would like to do that just for facing your fears type of a thing. The height thing, Danny's there in the background. I do not like heights. Like the heights things just trips me out. And but when you jump out of a plane, that fear goes away, because like you're like, well, once I hit the ground, it's all over. But I think once you get taller, it's just that like feeling like I'm gonna fall over or whatever. Like even when we stay in Mexico, like when we were on the 23rd floor last time, I'm just not comfortable on that balcony, but I'm comfortable on the balcony on the 10th floor. I just feel like I'll survive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's cool. Well, let me know if you do it. I will be very impressed.
Yeah, if I do the Alcatraz thing, it's something I for sure have on my bucket list. And I think I got to do it before I'm 50. I'm 46 right now. And it's so much safety. They got people in the water and stuff. It's just the training part that I know I'd have to commit to.
Right. Because
swimming in the...
And how cold it would be. I assume you wear a wetsuit.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. I think a lot, it's not like you're escaping from the actual prison like they did. Yes. That would be a lot tougher. But it sounds like you got a good adventure bug. Is there anything else that you like doing? Like, I see you as one of those people like riding a unicycle and trying like some cool stuff like that. Is there
I am like not that quirky, I think. No. So right now I'm in like that definite stage of life of like mom to little kids. My twins are 6 and my son is 3. And so like that doesn't really allot for a whole lot of time outside of that. I do like to write. That's one of the reasons I just started my blog, and I love taking pictures and photography. And that's another reason why I have my Instagram account. It didn't really start as like a business or anything, or even a place to gain followers. I just wanted to share that there were things around our home that I liked and enjoyed.
I could tell that about you, and that's usually people who start with that methodology gain the most followers, because people can tell they're authentic.
Oh, well, thank you.
I've got twins too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old?
They're 10, and I got one of each, and I know what you're going through.
Yeah, right. It's busy. It's a lot. So I definitely have a lot of dreams, but most of them are travel dreams too. I'd love to go to New Zealand one day, Patagonia. When my kids are older, I'd love to hike the Santiago de Compostela with them.
What is
that? It's a pilgrimage in Spain.
Okay.
So it takes I think the most common route is 4 to 5 weeks to walk the whole thing, but you stay in different hostels along the way.
Oh, wow.
And I think it'd be really
Is your husband down with that?
So my husband is so amazing. He's so supportive, and he is the perfect yin to my yang.
Yeah.
So I feel we both balance each other. I get him out of the house, he gets me to stay home, and it's really nice because I feel if I was with someone like me, I'd be we have to go all the time and we can never relax. And he is no, it's okay to relax. But if he was with someone like him, they wouldn't do anything. So
isn't that crazy how that happens? Me and my wife are very much similar. It's she's highly organized. I'm not highly organized. I'm highly adventurous. She's highly not adventurous.
Yeah.
And so it's like a yin to the yang because she would rather stay home. And I'd rather, whenever she says, do you want to go here? I'm down.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm down. Where are we going?
Yes. Yeah. My husband is the same. He's super supportive. I think he really appreciates that I get him out on adventures, and I really appreciate that he mellows me out. So it works.
How did you two meet, Amy?
We met online. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So actually, I'm still in Bulgaria, and so everybody here thought that I was catfishing him.
Can you explain what catfishing is? For those of our listening audience who don't know what a catfish is.
So catfishing is when you say you're somebody online, but you're not that person.
Yes.
And so, yes, my friend was let's make dating profiles. I knew I was going to be in Kansas City. I'd gotten the fellowship here at UMKC, so I knew I was coming here, but I didn't know anybody really. So we made dating profiles, and he messaged me, and we started talking.
Which app?
It was, we're both super cheap, so it was OkCupid.
Oh, super cheap. We Why is OkCupid the cheapest? What are all the dating apps?
It was free at the time, and so that was there was Match.com, but you had to pay, and neither of us were gonna pay for it, but so we met on there. And
see, you don't get what you pay for. People always say you get what you pay for. I don't agree with that philosophy.
Okay.
You make the best of whatever you got.
Yeah.
I did. So back in my day, I'm when online dating wasn't cool.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where you didn't tell people. How'd you meet? We're going to tell them we met. We're going to tell them we met at, I picked you up at. So I went through the Match, but the cheap one was Plenty of Fish. I don't know if that one's still around.
I don't know. I've been out of it for so long.
Yeah, me too. Okay, that's cool. So you guys end up meeting online.
Yeah.
And developed a relationship. Now is he from this area?
He grew up in West Virginia, but he's originally from Canada, and his whole extended family lives in Canada, but now his sister and mom live in Asheville, North Carolina. Mm-hmm.
That's another cool place.
Yeah, his family, they live in Niagara Falls, Vancouver Island, and Asheville. They live in beautiful places. So it's never a pain to go visit them.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this podcast with a friend. And make sure that you schedule a call with me and my team. We have the Millionaire Mentorship Program. This is for newbie and advanced investors to get started investing in real estate. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, that's exactly what you want, right? You want to learn how to invest in real estate. It's changed my life. It can change your life. And we have a program that'll help you get your first or next investment property within the next 90 days, or I'll pay you $1,000 cash and you don't pay. Guess what else we're launching? We're launching a fund. And if you're interested, I'll include a link in my bio to this fund where you can actually invest with me on a lot of the properties that we're in. In fact, I'm in one of my properties right now in downtown Kansas City, in a building that I bought using my own money, but I started with just one property, and you can do the exact same thing that I did, but you got to get started. You got to take action. So whether you want to invest with me in my fund or whether you want to schedule a call with my team, both those links are in the bio. Enjoy the show. Give us a 5-star review. Going on to the top, some of the hidden gems. What are the top places that you would want to take your kids in Kansas City? As a mom, you've got 3 children. There's a lot of moms out there that are always looking for, it's hard to just stay at home with the kids all day.
Yeah.
We know they've got the science cities and things like that, but where are you taking your kids to get that energy out of them? And
so I really like Deanna Rose Farmstead. It's in Overland Park. It's $5, I think, to get in, and so it's not super expensive, but you can feed baby goats and go fishing, and you have to pay a little bit extra for some of the activities, but you can choose what you want to do or not do. There's a lot of play spaces. It's just kind of like a cute farm. So that's one area that I always recommend to people. If they're looking for something a little bit more like nature-y, they want to get outside, I really like Line Creek. There's a community center there in North Kansas City.
Okay.
It's kind of near Riverside. And
I know exactly where Lion Creek or Riverside is.
yeah, and so there is a mini train there that costs like less than $1 to ride.
Okay.
And it's just like a 1/4 mile loop. And then there's a hiking trail there. And if you go one way, it takes you to Triple Falls. And if you go the other way, it takes you to Double Falls.
Okay.
And so it's a paved path. I think it's pretty long. I can't remember the exact length, but you can bike it or you could take the stroller. My kids always like riding their bikes there. And then we always stop in Double Falls and they like to play and look for crawfish and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So, yeah, so that's kind of a fun little mini adventure.
For sure.
Another place that we really love is I live in the Northland, so a lot of these are kind of
That's fine. It's perfect for me. I live in Northland too.
Yeah, so I really like Maple Woods, a natural area. It's like a 1 mile loop, but it's really great for kids because there's just enough variance that my kids are interested in it. It's not flat and boring. It's a beautiful place to see fall foliage. There's tons of pawpaw trees there. Do you know about pawpaws?
I do not know about it. What's a pawpaw tree?
A pawpaw is a fruit, and that's native to Missouri and Kansas. Yeah, they grow all over the place. If you know what to look for, you'll start.
Are they green?
They are green, and they
like
kind of taste
circle.
Yeah, like an oval kind of thing, and they sort of taste like a kiwi banana.
Really? I think I've run them over a lot.
Oh yeah, so you've probably seen them like.
If it's like a green, like kind of pokey, like.
It kind of looks like a custard on the inside. It's not pokey. It's smooth.
Not pokey. Okay, maybe I don't know what it is.
But if you cut them open, there's like these huge seeds inside, and they're kind of like a custardy texture. So at the end of September, beginning of October, there's pawpaws around. They're fun to forage for. We have a ton, like where we.
What do you make out of them?
Sometimes people make ice cream. We just eat them raw for the most part. Sometimes they'll freeze them and put them into like cookies and cakes and stuff like that.
Are you pretty homey? You sound like...
My husband is actually like, okay. I make most of the dinners because of our jobs and everything, but he makes the fancy dinners and I make like the things that sustain our family and that are crowd pleasers. And so, yeah.
So when you're not, getting all of these cool ideas out there, you have a regular job?
No, actually, this is my job now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of transformed and grown into a business, which has been really cool. It wasn't where I originally saw it at all. I did work in nonprofit marketing before. And then
so you kind of have a marketing background. I
do, yeah, and I have a degree in journalism and nonprofit management, and so my master's is in nonprofit management. So I'm kind of from that background, but when I left my job, I read that on average, when women leave their jobs to stay home with their kids, their pay decreases by 30%. And so I started my account to kind of just share about like the places we love, but also kind of keep my skills up in hopes that whenever I went back into the workforce, I wasn't going to see that 30% decrease. I had no idea that it would kind of turn into something. I work with a lot of tourism boards. That's where I get most of my income.
Really?
And so, yeah, and so that's how
So they're inviting you places.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a lot of fun. And the
power of social media.
It's crazy. I never anticipated it. And then it grew into something great. So I'm really excited about that.
So let's go into that a little bit deeper, because I didn't want to go into social media just because I didn't want to tell people what I had. And we talk about real estate education, and I was very private before then, and then watching a couple other people, and I'm like, well, I love sharing real estate, so why am I going to be like selfish by not, sharing what I'm really good at? Because I'm not good at a lot of things. I'm good at real estate. And so it sounds like you just wanted to do it to keep your skills sharp. That's why you got into it, and then it turned into this other thing for you. Where do you see it leading to in the future for you, Amy?
Oh man, I do not have a 5-year plan. I haven't really gotten that far. I feel like every day I'm still shocked that we're
you
about
have
where I am.
5-year-olds, right?
Six, yeah,
6-year-olds.
6-year-olds and 3-year-olds. So, I'm not exactly sure. I am really excited about my blog and growing there. I'd love to get better at photography, and I'm planning on getting my drone certification to get my pilot's license for flying a drone.
Why do you want to do that?
Just so that I can use that in my content. I think it'll up it. And then I can also sell that when I work with tourism boards. I can offer that as an additional revenue.
So you're building a business.
Yes, I am. I am building a business. Yeah. But mostly in working with tourism boards.
I mean, you're building a business on something that you love, which is the best way to build a business. If you're selling something that you hate to do, and I would imagine, do you do your own editing and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at some point in time, you probably do you enjoy that?
I do enjoy that.
Okay.
I like it.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I did edit a bunch of my TikToks when I first got started, but editing's very tough.
It takes a long time. I think if I ever expanded to YouTube or TikTok, I'd have to
Get some help.
Yeah, get some help. Just because I don't have enough time. I really try to spend about 20 hours a week, max, working on this. And in the summer when my kids are off, it's going to be less. So it's kind of just has to fit into my lifestyle. I'm not doing this to make a ton of money. I'm doing this to support my family while getting time with my family.
Yeah, so what does the full thing look like if it was ever to really take off? I'm sure you've thought about this a little bit. This thing has just kind of organically developed, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool because what you're talking about is a lot of things that even myself living right where you gotta live have no idea about. And because people don't want to do the research. And if you do the research for them and you make it easy for them, then they're probably going to follow you and buy whatever you're selling. And I find that people like to buy, to be honest with you, these things. So where do you see this thing going in the future? In a dream world. I'm not saying with a 5-year plan. I'm just saying I could see this going here.
Yeah, right. I'm not exactly sure because I'm not one of those people who really dreams about being famous or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I do think for me, what I dream about is being able to help people, feeling like I'm doing something good, being able to create an income for my family, and having really good work-life balance. So I think a lot of people they shoot for the stars, and I shoot for work-life balance is what I want. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm there. There's definitely times where it's super stressful because I'm I have all these deadlines, or I need to do this. But I think it's getting easier and I'm getting better at it. I'm really only so I started my account 2 years ago, and I only started pursuing it as a business a little bit more than a year ago. So
and you got a lot of followers. And on a very niche topic.
Yeah, so it's been really good. I think I'm just trying to right now just enjoy it and then really strive for that work-life balance. And I want to create connection with people. I want people to see that the Midwest is worth exploring and that their home is a good place to live. And if I do those things, that to me is making it, So I don't know, I don't have any dreams of being on Good Morning America. I guess if they called me, I would do it, but it's not or anything like that. But what I do want to do is inspire families to love their home and see how amazing Kansas City is.
Enjoy what's around them.
Yeah, get out with their kids, explore more. I know getting outside is so good for my mental health.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people just need a little bit of encouragement to try someplace new or go someplace new that's out of their comfort zone. Try something new, backpacking with their kids. That was out of my comfort zone, but it was so rewarding. Things like that that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, and I think anytime you get outside your comfort zone, there's growth. Yeah. Right? Moving here, you moved here, it's outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Getting on a dating app, speaking Bulgarian is outside your comfort zone. So you're continuing to do that. I moved here from Las Vegas. I didn't know anybody, and that's outside your comfort zone. But the growth happens when you step outside that comfort zone. And I think the most important thing that you're speaking to people, and especially people who listen to this show, we speak about getting outside your comfort zone. But I also try to kind of put Kansas City on a pedestal because I don't. For me, as an outsider or outlier or whatever you want to call me, from somebody who came from living in Las Vegas, who I was an outsider there from Seattle originally. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of things going on in the Midwest that people don't even know about. And you have all these preconceived notions from people. I'm sure you've heard these on your comments and stuff like that. But the cost of living is great out here. There's more than cornfields. Do you want to go into that? Like, that's something we discussed pre-show about the cornfields. People, when they think of the Midwest, they think it's flyover country. There's nothing going on over here, but there's a lot of big companies. There's a lot of big corporations. There's a lot of action going on in the Midwest.
Yes, there's so much here. And I think especially in natural beauty is what people really overlook. Like maybe they've heard about the great things in Kansas City or Omaha or St. Louis, but like they think that because there's no mountains and there's no ocean, there's nothing to do here.
Right.
But there's actually so much. There's so many variances in like rock formations and different hiking trails and lakes. And if you get up into like Michigan and Minnesota, there are just like these incredible places.
Boundary waters.
Yes, boundary waters. That is like, you know, it's beautiful. And the North Shore in Minnesota, like it feels like there's...
Spent all my summers in Minnesota.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's so beautiful. I'm obsessed with Minnesota. I love Minnesota. But there's...
I got some hookups there if you ever need them. My cousins,
really?
We have a house on a lake there that my cousins had. It's in his family forever. You know, there's lakes there everywhere. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love Minnesota. David and I are like, if we ever bought a second house, it would be in Minnesota or Michigan. Like,
really?
For sure, yes.
The cold I cannot deal with.
Well, it would be for the summer. We'd go in the summer.
Yeah,
but the summers there are perfect.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, other than the state bird is a mosquito, other than that, it's great. So when you look at the Midwest and you're talking about things like that, and you say there's more to the Midwest than cornfields, have you been to like the caves down here? Because I keep seeing all these billboards about caves, and I know Missouri's got more caves than any other place. I haven't been to one.
Yeah. So you're probably referring to Fantastic Caverns.
Okay.
Because they have 10 million billboards.
Yeah. Might be them.
Yes. Yeah. They have so many billboards. There's actually a lot more than Fantastic Caverns. I like that one if you have kids or you have more mobility issues. You literally just ride in this little cart through the caves.
Okay.
But I know in Branson, I think it's at Top of the Rock. I'm not totally sure of the exact location, but there's one where you can drive golf carts through, and there's like a bar inside. I haven't been there yet, but it is on my list.
Okay.
And then out near St. Louis and in the like southeastern part of the state, eastern part of the state, there's a lot more caves there. There's some down south of here, kind of closer to the Arkansas border. There's a few. I haven't explored a ton yet. But I think there's Smallin Civil War Cave near Springfield. I'm hoping to go there in a few weeks.
Okay, cool.
And then also in Springfield, I've read, but I haven't done this yet. It's on my list. That there's like kind of like a splunking company that'll take you splunking through the caves. So I would love to do that. Yeah. And then one of my favorite caving spots in the Midwest is Maquoketa, I think is how you say it, Maquoketa Caves, and it's a state park in Iowa. It's about 6 hours from here.
Okay.
But there's a series of like, I think 16 different caves within a 5-mile radius of each other, so you can kind of explore, and a lot of them are smaller. Some of them you have to like army crawl, and then some are really big. Like there's one really big one with like a dance hall and everything. It's beautiful, but it's kind of cool because they feel like you're exploring them for the first time, you know, and it's not like when you go into Fantastic Caverns, it's like lit and it's very like
commercial. Yes,
it's commercial, and I really like feeling more like I'm the first explorer ever to be there, even though I'm not. You know.
No, I'm with you on that program. Yeah. We did some. We actually walked through some old abandoned mines in Nevada, up in like some old silver mines and stuff like that. Amy, I was like, we walked so far down, like everybody stopped, and I'm like, do I keep going? Because you do feel like you're the first explorer ever, though, even though this thing was like chisels out of rock.
Right.
But you get down further and further, and there's no light, and you just like your mind starts playing tricks on you. You're like, what's down here? Is there like a goblet or whatever? But it's really, really cool. And the funny thing is, on that particular trip, we were on our four-wheelers just going through like Utah and Las Vegas, and all of a sudden we ran across this old silver town. Like there's all these towns up in mountains that are abandoned and stuff. There's just, if you get out there and explore, there's a lot to take a look at.
Definitely.
Okay. So somebody's coming to Kansas City for the weekend. What do they do?
Well, I would definitely tell them to do all the main touristy things. Now, do they have kids or not have kids?
Let's do both.
Both?
First couple
Okay.
has no kids.
Okay.
Dual income dinks. Dual
okay.
incomes, no kids.
Yeah, well then, I mean, I'd have to tell them to do the main Kansas City things. The plaza, downtown, city market, and definitely to maybe go to a Royals game or Chiefs game if they're in town during one of those times.
For sure.
So if they were staying downtown, I would probably tell them to go check out the riverfront.
Oh, yeah.
Up there, that's just like a really beautiful area. You can walk there from City Market, so that's nice. Or if they wanted to kind of explore a trail outside of Kansas City, I really like Olathe has a lot of gyms. If they wanted to kind of get out of Kansas City. So Ernie and Miller Nature Center has some cool trails down there that I really appreciate and enjoy. Black Hoof Lake is in Lenexa, and it's got a loop around it. It's got this very strange, like almost like a dam. It's like an area for the water to go through, but it looks kind of like a spaceship to me, or something from the future. I'm not sure. It's very interesting. And this trail is kind of funny because you start walking in this loop and you get to this spaceship dam thing, and then you keep walking and it turns into a dirt path. So it was paved, and it's kind of like got this gravel type environment with like more arid plants and like cedars. And then you continue walking till you get to, it's paved again, and now there's wetlands there and like this dock where you can fish or something like that, and then you get back to where you started. And so it's just,
I feel like I've been there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Is it like, there's some really cool park, I think, in that area where there's like all these bike trails, like ponds, and
maybe Shawnee Mission Lake.
Maybe.
Are you thinking of Shawnee Mission?
I don't know. There's some really just cool places out in the Midwest to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. But maybe something like that where they get to see some of the nature here, but they're not super far from the city. They don't have to go very far. And then if they did have kids, I mean, I definitely recommend Crown Center and Union Station. You have to go there.
Yes.
I'd still probably recommend the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art, even for little kids. It's still fun to explore. And the big birdies are fun, and running on the lawn and everything in the plaza.
And it's free.
Yes, yeah, and it is free, and everybody loves free.
Yeah.
So, and then if they wanted to kind of get out and explore a little more with kids, then I'd probably, if they wanted to get out of the city and explore a little bit more with kids, then I would probably recommend Powell Gardens.
Okay.
It's about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Kansas City, out east. And they have, in the summer, they have Fortopia. They build like these forts for kids to play on. They've got this splash pad area.
Wow.
And it's got these beautiful gardens. And there's multiple kids sort of play structures, and they can learn about food and how it grows and see all those different flora and fauna. It's really cool.
That is really cool. So you're a Texas native.
I am, yes.
So where in Texas are you from?
The DFW area.
Dallas, Fort Worth. I know that area very well. I was in a relationship with a girl. I did the long distance prior to me getting married, so I flew out there a number of times. And that area has changed dramatically.
Yes.
Dramatically. There's a lot of people that come from Texas up to the Midwest. And the one thing I will tell you is, it seems like we've got DFW freeways out here. Like there's a lot, like when you're in DFW area, like I can tell you, getting to the airport, you could screw that up a few times.
Yes, you definitely could.
And getting on the Stemmons Parkway or this one or that one. I stayed a lot of, and I think it was Addison.
Yeah.
I always stayed in Addison. The reason I ask that is we're both transplants. You're a transplant. I'm a transplant. What does the Midwest have to offer, especially Kansas City, for other people who are considering, maybe they're not happy, maybe they're living in like one of these other states that the rules are changing, the laws are changing, things are changing, and they're like, there's nothing to offer in the Midwest. Why would you tell them to come and move out to the Midwest?
Well, there's actually so many things that I want to say about this. So
perfect.
Yes. So first and foremost, I know that this might not seem like a big deal to some people, but people here are so nice. And I think that for the most part, there's like this very genuine thing about them where like, I remember whenever I first moved here, like one of my coworkers like decided to take up Civil War reenacting as like a hobby. And like everybody was like, oh, that's so cool. And they meant it. They were like, that like, what a cool thing to do. Right. And there was no like judgment, or I feel like other places I've lived, they'd be like, but why? You know what I mean? And I think here, for the most part, people are like, if you're doing something you love, like they're genuinely happy for you.
Yeah.
And so,
I echo that 1,000%.
Yes, and I love that about Kansas City, because that's how I feel about most things too. I get really excited for people when they find what they love, regardless of like what it is, you know? And so, and then on top of that, it's a really good place to raise families. Yep. Like, it's so affordable. There's a lot of just opportunities of things to do. I get a lot of people who comment on my Instagram, like, I wish we had something that like this where we live. Like, you guys have the best playgrounds, you guys have the best parks, and we do. We have really good things around here for families. And then, the affordability. I mean, now with so many remote jobs and everything, like if you're not tied to a place, then like, why not live someplace that's got it all, which I kind of feel like Kansas City does. The only thing that it doesn't have is like mountains or oceans. But if you know that,
but they're not far away, right?
They're not that far. I mean, you can always
direct flight to Cancun.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Denver's like a 10-hour drive, 8-hour drive.
Yeah. 1 hour flight.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really they're accessible, and there is probably a hiking trail within like 15 minutes drive of like anywhere in the city if you know where to look.
Yes.
You know, so there's just a ton of options. You can paddle, you can bike, you can hike, like anything that you want to do outdoors. Rock climbing, there's only a few spots that I know, but for the most part, like there's a lot of opportunities here for people to find whatever it is that they're interested in.
Yeah, and if you're a rock climber and you're thinking about moving to the Midwest, it may be not your jam, right? If that's your deal, it may not be your jam.
Yeah.
You know, several of those things that you mentioned, I just want to echo, is that the first thing that struck me was how nice the people were. And like, there's nice, like I've been investing in Mississippi for a long time. It's called Southern Hospitality. Some things with Southern Hospitality is just like, be really nice, but then talk about somebody behind them. And I felt like and I asked these guys, we played golf with them one day. I'm like, why are y'all nice out here? And he's like, it's just as easy to be nice as it is to be mean.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it becomes contagious. In Las Vegas, that's not the attitude. And in Washington State, that's not the attitude. Those are the two places I'm from. And I feel like because I'm out here, that has become contagious to me. And that's a good thing. And so I definitely agree with that. I did want to ask, what are some things living here that you wish were here?
So last weekend, I went on a girls' trip with two of my best friends to Idaho. We went to Boise. And we drove out to these natural hot springs. Yeah. They're like literally on the side of mountains. They're like hot tubs. And there were people at all the places we went, but like 2 people. Yeah. Not like, it was not crowded at all. And I've never thought of Kansas City as being like crowded. Yeah. It's grown since I've been here, but one of the things I like about it is I still feel like it has that small town feel. For sure. But going out to like the wilderness where sure. Like there's like, I think we went on the 16-mile 1-lane road in a national forest, and we saw like 3 cars the entire day. It was really nice to just kind of be completely immersed in nature. So I wish that we had like maybe some more of those like different varying natural features, and our places are not busy at all. Like even the most popular places aren't super busy, but it's always so nice when you have a place in nature to yourself. Like it just feels really like
you share. Like the point of nature is not to share it with other people,
right? And I mean, a lot of times you are, and that's fine, and everybody deserves to be there, and you know, but it is really nice when you can find those places that you are just by yourself.
Yeah. And where does that connect you to? Like, because for me, it's about like being connected to something. Like feeling closer to God. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if maybe that's what it is for me. I don't even really know, but I know like when the place that I'm happiest is in the woods. Oh, yeah. Like, and probably because I spent a lot of time as a kid exploring in the woods in Washington State, which has a lot of mountains and stuff like that. But I've always felt the most at peace, even when you have that feeling of like panic where you're like lost. I've lost my way several times, like hiking on these trails where like they just blend in Las Vegas because there's not an actual trail. You're just like guessing. Yes. And even then you just kind of feel like there's survivalist instincts that come in. We weren't really meant when we were born to live in houses and have plumbing, and so I think it kind of brings us back to the way we were meant to live. And I'm just you get some sort of feeling from that, and I just was wondering what it was. Yeah, for me, I definitely feel that same like sense of calm and relax when I'm in nature, which is funny because like I didn't really consider myself outdoorsy until a few years ago. My twins were born very early, 27 weeks. They spent 82 and 100 days in the NICU, and so... Right there with you. Oh, really? Yeah. 31 weeks, and they were in there for 60 days and 90 days. I know what you went through. Yeah, so it was a struggle, and being outside was where we didn't have to worry about germs and stuff so much. So we started taking to getting outdoors. So I think like I always felt that way. Like I remember even being a kid and thinking like feeling at peace in nature. Yeah. But I didn't really embrace it in a way until I was like, well, I don't want to stay inside, but I really want to keep my babies like healthy and safe and like give them everything do everything I can for them. Right. And so then I started embracing it and really realized how much it helped my mental health. Yeah. How much happier I felt, how much more relaxed I felt as a mom. Yeah. And to see my kids be happier. Yes. And just to like that connection with them. Like when I'm at my house, unfortunately, there's always a laundry list of things that I need to do. I need to wash the dishes and make dinner and da-da-da. And they're like, Mom, will you play with me? And I do for like 10, 15 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I need to get back to work. But when we are outside, I am only thinking about them and our experience and sharing that together. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why I love it so much in my stage of motherhood. Yeah. Is because I just feel like such a more present mom. And like they invent the funniest games, like today we're going to be trolls on the trail or like whatever. I don't know. Like, but it's just fun. Kids live in the moment. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not worried about all the stuff I have to do. Like I can't do it right now. I'm in the middle of nowhere, So I think that is one of the biggest beauties for me. Yeah, it's cool. That's cool. I really appreciate you sharing all this stuff with me and our audience. Amy, is there anything like that you'd want to share that like you didn't feel like you were able to share today, like about the Midwest or about like kind of your adventure seeking ways and where you want to go? And I think like if you're out, whether you're living in the Midwest, investing in the Midwest, I definitely think you should follow Amy. And Amy, how do they follow you? How do they get a hold of you? You're on Instagram. Yes. So I'm mostly on Instagram. I am on Facebook too. I'm Everyday Outdoor Family. Okay. And then I also have a blog that just launched like about a month ago. So it's pretty new, and a mailing list. And that's www.everydayoutdoorfamily.com. And branding.
What?
Branding.
Yes, yeah, I got to keep it consistent. And then my mailing list is just like a monthly newsletter that shares about a little bit more in detail about the places that I'll talk about, so that if they have questions, it's on there. I also have some guides that I share. I think I'm going to start doing seasonal bingo boards for families so that they have kind of like things that they can check off for each season. That'll be fun.
So like kind of like a calendar with I like that. That's awesome. So you're trying to encourage people to get outside.
Yes, exactly. And that's actually something that my family has done ever since my kids were itty bitty. You know, every fall we make sure that it's a way to build tradition. So like we always make sure we go to the pumpkin patch and drink hot apple cider, and that we go pick apples. And then now my kids look forward to that every year, and I look forward to that every year. And one of the best parts about being in the Midwest is we have all 4 seasons. So like I grew up in Texas. We didn't really get to play in the snow or anything, but like my kids will have the memories of like building snowmen and drinking hot cocoa afterwards and things like that.
And let's talk about that a little bit, because for me, as somebody who came from Las Vegas, where it gets cold, like, you know, in the 20s, and it's very windy, very similar to out here. But you know, you're like, and then it goes from like around March, it just starts getting hot, and then it goes to like 120. But everybody's always like, "Well, it's so cold. It's so cold." Listen, we talked about Minnesota. Minnesota is cold. North Dakota is cold. Iowa is cold. Kansas City, Missouri, it's not that cold. We had one big freeze, which was like a couple days or whatever. We just had 85 degrees 3 days in a row, and I would bet you there's not a lot of the sun states that have that weather going for us right now. And what you mentioned, and I think we're kind of on that same wavelength, I get like completely enthralled with the season changing. That's when I'm going through my Instagram story, it's not even like, that's not my audience, it's not who I'm talking to, it's showing what I like. Like I'm like, oh, I'm seeing this, the grass just turned. Like I can see it changing right now. And then you're like, now you're seeing like all the leaves are coming out, all the buds are coming out. And you take that stuff for granted when you live in Vegas for 15 years. Mm-hmm. And even in Washington State, where I grew up, I wasn't paying attention to that. But now as I'm an older person, I'm 46 years old, I've got 2 kids, I'm slowing down and I'm trying to smell the roses. The other cool thing is I'm mowing my lawn. It's 11 acres, the first time I've mowed my lawn since I was a kid, you know? Yeah. And so I think that there's just a lot to offer here. You mentioned the kid thing as well. I really wanted to bring that home, because it's one thing for Amy to say that. It's another thing for me to say that. But did everybody tell you the same thing? Like when you started talking to people, like it's a great place to raise your children?
About Kansas City?
The Midwest.
Oh, the Midwest. Not really, because when I moved here, I didn't have kids. Oh. So it wasn't really on my radar yet.
That makes sense.
Yes, but now that I have kids and I share about Kansas City, tons of people are like, Kansas City's the best place to raise kids. It's such a good spot. And the Midwest in general has so many good places. Yeah,
and I definitely amplify what you just said there, because my kids, we're totally looking at Kansas City as a stopover. This was a real estate investment. Like, we're going to stop here, we're going to do our thing, and then we're heading to Florida. Yeah. And then we're going to be there 2 years. That was 3 years ago. And like, my kids love it. They're like, oh, we've got the great friendship. And the cool thing for me is and this is kind of what I want to end on, but I think it's so important here, because it's like kind of the crossroads of where you're at. You're a social media influencer, but you're an outdoors person. And it is that tug and pull right now and you having children, knowing that like we have a deal with our kids that they can't be on social media until they're 18. Okay. Mm-hmm. So how do you balance raising children and keeping them outside? Because that was the big thing for me, is getting my kids outside. Like I grew up outside. There's a lot of it, that brain turning and getting them off the computer and out into Mother Nature and learning how to think for themselves and play and not be scared that there's a coyote that's not going to do anything to you. So how do you deal with all of that?
So it's definitely gotten harder. When my kids were younger, they had just more time to be outside. But now my twins started kindergarten this year. So their time that they have to get outdoors is just a lot less.
Yeah.
But I think for us, I've been trying to not overschedule them. It's been difficult because like I want them to do all the things they want to do, like soccer and sports and everything. But they deserve downtime and time to just like explore. And so it's almost like we schedule time for that. And I also, I don't really like limit screen time too much. I allow it to be an option when my kids get home from school and I'm making dinner. Like, you can do whatever you want during this time. It's your downtime. You get to choose. But a lot of times what they choose to do is to go outside because they like it and I think they feel relaxed there. Now, it depends on the kid. One of my kids really likes her tablet a lot. Yeah. So, but if her sister is going outside, then she's more likely to choose that too. And so I think just trying to encourage it through family outings, like a lot of the things that we do on weekends, we're getting outside as a family. We, in the evenings, will go on like walks. Last night we drew with chalk. The night before that, we jumped on the trampoline. We looked for flowers in our yard, and if you get like those dandelions that are the white still and you put them in water, they like the water doesn't absorb into them, so they look kind of like bubbles or something. So we've been getting like going around and picking those and like putting them in the water to check that out, and just different things to make them curious about nature.
Yeah.
I think that then will stay with them later on. We go camping a few times a year.
What's your camping look like?
We have a tent. It's and then
so real deal.
Yes, yeah, but we also have an air mattress, so it's not like
that's still real deal. I mean, that's real deal these days because my wife wants to go camping. She's like, "Yeah, is there a hotel?" So there. I mean, it's not for everybody. Some people just don't like. She doesn't like bugs. She doesn't like all that stuff. We've had some encounters with ticks out here in the Midwest. We probably didn't start on a good note there. Yeah. And so, well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, Amy, and sharing everything about your story. Is there anything else that you want to share before we take off?
I don't think so. I just hope that people like really can recognize how amazing Kansas City and the Midwest is as a destination and really appreciate their home. And see that there's a lot to do here, whether you're a family or a single person or a couple, and lots to explore.
Yeah, amen to that. And guys, make sure you give Amy a 5-star review. Make sure you share this with a friend. And then finally, follow her on all of her socials. Congratulations on all your success, and I hope to hear more from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me here.
No problem. Peace. Are you interested in investing in real estate, but you don't feel like you got the time to take a coaching program? I get it, right? You're busy, you're making money, and that's okay, but you want to invest with me because you're like, Troy, I like what you do. I see what you're doing. You're a real deal. Yes, I am. I'm an average Joe. I worked at Burger King. I worked at Red Robin. I started investing in real estate, and I started from absolutely nothing. And I will take you along with my journey, and you can get all the benefits, but you got to be an accredited investor. If you want to invest with me and you want to be a part of something great and you don't have the time, guess what? We're launching a fund that you can be a part of, but you got to be an accredited investor. And if you want to find out more about what that looks like, all you got to do is click the link and we'll show you exactly what that looks like. And guess what? If you're not an accredited investor, then you may down the road be an accredited investor. So definitely learn what that's all about and enjoy the podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.